I watched the video that Mark Zuckerberg published for the censorship inside Meta, and I have a couple of ideas on it.
I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote non-stop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
Some of his points was that he wants to remove censorship from immigration and gender, I assume, and other issues, because he saw the majority of people want to engage with this kind of content, especially in other platforms, especially on X. I want to remind you that Meta had a real bad year last year, 2023 I mean, because one of the most uninstalled apps in phones was the Instagram, meaning that people don't like the way Meta was going, make the app in the future and how to create it and how to move on from that. And one of the basic problems is that when people move out from your app, it means it's bad for business, less advertisement, less people engagement, and you want to keep the people using your apps.
Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
He also said that he wants to simplify the filters they use in Meta. And from what I gathered is he wants to keep filters for specific things. And for other things, he will use the people's judgment. Basically, the user can report it as it was in previous years, before 2016.
Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive.
He wants to push the content for civic. So if you make this kind of content, it's time to take action and move to these platforms because they will pick in the future, in the near future.
Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
He also said that he plans to move the trust content moderation from California to Texas. That has a lot of meanings. First of all, it shows that he wants to be in Texas because Musk did the same thing. But in my opinion, there are other things that benefit that platform. First of all, he wants to create new teams that will be less biased. That's a good idea. No one will disagree with that. But there is from my personal view. It's very dangerous because I believe it will be a bad idea to see Meta being from left to far right. And what we need for platforms is to have contents from both sides. The other thing, the costs from living California. We know that being in California is twice as cost as in living in Austin. Housing, offices, infrastructure, and maybe it's even cheaper for salaries over in Texas than California. That is a good investment if he buys, if Meta buys offices there, because in the future it might move again and sell these offices in a higher price in the future. If they decide to move again outside of Austin, maybe to Detroit, for example.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
Now, the last one and the most important in my opinion. One of the things we need to protect is free expression, and he made a hit against South America, Europe, China. I know only the basics. For China, I know they don't let the apps from Meta be used in China. For South America, I have no idea how it works. I don't have the resources to find out also. But I have the resources for Europe because I know how it works. I know that Europe has lots and lots and lots of laws about everything. And around 6% of the laws they pass in European countries come from European Parliament. And it's very difficult to keep up with the laws coming every year. I can't agree more with Mark in this problem because in the near future it will grow, especially for the Europeans, it will grow and grow, and will be very difficult to even open a small business. It takes too many paperwork, too many licenses, and it's a financial nightmare, even before you open the doors. And this will happen also in social media, because now there is a talk about what anyone can say in the social media. If I disagree with someone and say that you are wrong, or blah, 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 take another job or whatever, or be a bit disrespectful to some people, they might even can charge me with something. That is happening right now in the European Parliament. And it's very, very be better.